Hey everybody, it's David, Day Drinking with David. We're back. Sorry I'm a little late. Things are a little wild over here. Lots going on, lots of taste. We're keeping it pretty simple today. Just going through a couple new products. There's so much new stuff showing up right now. And our first jam of the day is actually kind of a throwback. This is something that my partner up north, Andrew, put together kind of as the new importer changed over on this brand. So we took a little bit of advantage of that to snag some old stock. And these are things that have been around before. The importer, this is the Arran Distillery, the Isle of Arran Distillery, or actually the distillery now kind of referred to when you're speaking of this whiskey as the La Cranza Distillery, named for the town where it's built, because they built a second distillery on site, which is called Lag. Well, it's actually not on site. It's on the other side of the island. But the Arran Distillery, Isle of Arran Distillery, was created in the 90s, mid-90s, I want to say 94, 95, and it was built by a gentleman named Harold Curry. He was a Chivas guy, I believe, and he built this distillery on an island that had once been, renowned for its illicit distillation, and had many distilleries at one point in Scotland's history, that opened. It was one of sort of the first new wave. I mean, this is before building distilleries was cool in Scotland. They were super early, it kind of came out right after I started getting in the business. Sort of 2000. Gosh, I can't remember exactly when it was released in the States, but 2004, 5, I think 5. I may be wrong. Someone might be able to tell me better, but I'm sure the internet knows. It's always been considered quite a fun little distillery. But they're expanding. They're doing well. They're making lots of high quality stuff, and they've just had a package change I think looks great. I don't know if anybody's seen the new package, but it's, I think, really attractive, I would say. Their old imaging, maybe not most up to date. This is the Macrimore cask strength. I thought it would have a batch number on here, but I don't see one. But it is their peated whiskey. So this is peated to about 20 parts per million. I can't open it for some reason, so I'm going to do that. I'm probably going to do that last anyway. We'll taste also the Bothy. This is batch 3. This was distilled, I think these are usually 8, 9 years old. So this was probably distilled in the late 2000s. 2008, 2009, and it spends some time in ex-bourbon before being, yes, Whiskey Batter knows everything. Stranger and Strange, the best in the business. Stranger and Stranger. My best friend's last name is Stranger. Good people. Someone's ready. Okay, so that then goes into quarter cask, so young, fresh, new American oak. Does make a nice corky sound. So good color. Arran, of course, the base whiskey is unpeated. You actually see quite a bit of Arran. There's just trouble. It's not easy to build on the island, and there's a lot of red tape to put warehousing up. So we've seen Arran in the warehouses at Bladnoch. That was pretty interesting. I don't know if we're supposed to talk about that, but whatever. Which is, in very, Galloway in the south of Scotland. Oh, great. Intense woodsy nose, sweet malt, lots of sort of exotic citrus fruit on the nose. We've seen I think they used to house at Springbank and other places, and now I believe have been able to build a warehouse, and so a lot more done in-house. We've had some really good success with some distillery bottled single casks. I don't know if anybody remembers, had a pretty monster sherry hoggy at one point. This is a couple years ago, and we've been trying to make it work again. It's been difficult. The 3-tier system is pretty tough, and these guys have good whiskey and they know it's worth a lot, so I don't blame them when I want to sell something at $100 that's 15 plus years old and heavily sherried, and they can't do it, so it goes. This is a great nose. These are about $80 on the shelf. They're long gone. I think we're one of the only people to have these, at least in California. Definitely the only people in California. It's nice. It's not overly tannic. A lot of that sweet vanilla, American oak stuff. It's easy drinking. I'm going to try with a little bit of water. Got a lot going on, really. Definitely has sort of like a summery vibe to it, which I like. It is hot out there, and unfortunately California's closing again, or it's closed more or less. I mean, I'm not sure why we can't figure our lives out, but so it goes. Joining late. Oh, sorry, I apologize. Here we go. This is the Arran Bothy Batch 3. It's 53.2, 13,000 bottles, which sounds like a lot, but it's really not for a brand that's sold worldwide. That's, again, 7 years in bourbon, 7-ish years in bourbon, and then finished for another couple in new, ex-bourbon, I should say, in new quarter casks. Yeah, lots of that citrus, tangerine. I'm getting a lot of citrus today. I don't know what's going on with that. Some more malty notes here now. A little coffee, little caramel. Yeah, I'm always a little averse to the small casks because I worry that they get tannic or overly oaked. I think one great thing about, single malt is that spirit is so fine. Often, you don't need a bunch of new wood. I've yet to come across something that's fully matured with the exception of maybe like some of those Octomores, fully matured in virgin oak that I think is up to snuff with ex-bourbon or, more traditional barrels. Well, that's pretty tasty. Great little summer whiskey. Takes the water really nicely, opens up very well. Very excited to one day go to Arran. I've had many plans to go to the island, and it seems a bit cursed. 13.5 gallons. Gallons. I think that's right. That sounds about right. Should be a quarter of a bourbon barrel, or is it a quarter of a hoggy? I should know this stuff. It's my job, but well. I think 13.5 sounds right. Someone, Whiskey Badger, help us out. Come on. Someone's asking about the quarter cask size, which I should know, but precisely. But it's around there. They're not tiny. They're not the mini barrels. They actually, ubiquitously used across the industry nowadays. You'll see, famous whiskey from Lefroy in quarter casks. And next we have I'm going to save the Peter for last. This is a pretty wild package. The great James McTaggart dressed up as a certain, secret operative. I'm praying that this is a bit done in tongue-in-cheek. But anyway, this is the Masters of Distilling 2, number 2, the second release, I think of 3. The Man with the Golden Glass. Wow. This is a 12-year-old. It's distilled entirely in 2006. Can I open it? I wonder. How does it open? Is it one of these? Yes. And that was finished, 12,000 bottle release in Palo Cortado sherry, which is exquisitely rare. We don't see, come on now. We don't see a lot of Palo Cortado. It's rare in Spain and even rarer as a cask for whiskey. I've seen a couple over the years, but it's not something we're really used to. That's 51.8% alcohol, bottled, of course, without any coloring additives of any kind. So apparently the good distiller, Mr. McTaggart, selected these casks himself in Spain at one point. He is he's been with the brand, I think, from the beginning, and he's quite a name in the industry. We're going to have a taste of that right away. It says licensed to distill. Licensed to distill. That's accurate. My wife is laughing at me, rightfully so. I deserve it. And oh, yes. Definitely a totally different character than the Bothy. Palo Cortado is an unusual style of sherry in that it's kind of in between a Fino and an Oloroso, and it distinguishes itself from like Amontillado production. I don't know if everybody understands or cares to know about sherry, but there's sort of two lines of sherry: oxidative aging, and Oloroso, and floor aging, or I'm sure there's a better term. Sorry, there is definitely a better term, but basically they fill the barrels all the way, or they don't fill them all the way, and if they don't fill them all the way, a layer of yeast-ish bacteria fungi, yeast, I think it is, grows on top, and that's actually the non-oxidative. That protects the wine. It protects it from oxygen. It eats the leftover sugars in the wine. And thank you, Whiskey Badger, coming through. If anyone wants to follow that link with the precise sizes, I can't do it right now. But the wine is protected for up to 10 years, and that's Fino production. It eats the glycerine and changes the pH. So there is a period after this where oxidative aging can occur, and that would entail Amontillado sherry, where you have the aging under the floor and then the oxidative aging. But in the case of Palo Cortado, basically the floor dies in advance of plans. And so you kind of got this in between. It's not as funky floor driven as an Amontillado would be. It's not as ripe, sort of redolent of rancio and oxidative flavors, the nutty flavors as an Oloroso, and it's quite prized, even though it's really like, you know, happy accident. And I think, you know, they, you know, sherry geeks, the few that there are, will, you know, complain about bodegas artificially creating Palo Cortado because it's supposed to be natural, and you can, you know, you can adjust or you can kill the floor somehow. I don't know how that happens. And create Palo Cortado, but true high quality Palo Cortado is a true rarity. They call it Palo Cortado because of they'll put a slash across the front of the barrel, and this smells great though. Lots going on. The sherry is full on there. It doesn't go into, you know, some of the Fino casks that we occasionally see are real nuts and pretty funky. This is definitely got a twinge of that. It's not full on, you know, mushroomy, almond, pasty, but there's a hint. Great sweetness of the malt, balancing out that powerful wine influence. On a little water, see what happens. These are really fun whiskeys, and I unfortunately didn't get more of this whiskey. The other ones we seem to have plenty of. I guess there wasn't as much available. I didn't buy these, but I'm happy to taste them. I'll be putting up my notes on the site in the coming days, and we should shoot an email out soon enough. I'm not sure the water helped here. Sometimes happens. It's kind of gone a little bit mute. Now more of that almond stuff. Like the almond skin. Just a smell I like, but I hate, you know, getting that almond skin stuck in your teeth. Oh, it's kind of opening up a bit. Let's give it a second. I'm gonna move on. That needs some time. See what happens. There's some air that kind of killed it, but it'll be back. That's not unusual. Sometimes you put a little water in, and you know, we kind of go to sleep, as they say. But it will wake up eventually, I'm sure. Now on to something completely different. I'll come back to the special edition soon. This is the Macrimore, not a brand that'll be around, I don't think, any longer, because they've built a second distillery on the island devoted exclusively to peated malt. So they won't be producing peated malt at Locranza Arran, Isle of Arran Distillery any longer. It's kind of got a goofy label. I don't know. Named for, I guess, a dog. It was some sort of dog. Dog on the island. Peat dog. A peating dog. I don't know what that means. And this is peated to 20 parts per million. We're talking no age statement, but unchill filtered, cast strength. There is a non-cast strength version, and this is definitely the one to grab if you can find it, which we, of course, have it right now. Let's have a taste. Yeah, it's medium peat. It's very linear on the nose. It's pretty gentle, really. Wonder where they get their peat. It does have definitely an ocean quality to it. Could be Highland, I don't know. Great color. Golden straw, perhaps. This is great. So drinkable, balanced, sweet up front. It's always Arran achieves a lot of depth and balance with these young-ish whiskeys. I mean, they're not very young, but a little water adds complexity here. Sweet peat here. Big, sweet, earthy notes. Little vegetal, but more on that sort of burnt citrus peel. Oh, I've just sprayed whiskey all over myself, so it goes. They're gentle, though. These whiskeys are extremely well balanced. I've said that already a number of times. There we go. There you go. I guess it's harvested locally, according to the whiskey badger, who's always on it. The peat, that is. That seems strange because I didn't know they were malting their own barley. So the whole malted barley thing, it's pretty complicated in Scotland. It's really difficult to get custom barley done, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they are doing malting. I've never been there. That's the story I was going to tell. So I've been trying to get to Arran for years. And, some time ago, this is in the good old days when we were allowed to travel, we had planned a trip to Arran to just ramshackle the warehouses and have a good old time, a whole couple days on the island. And I remember it was the morning. We'd finished at Signatory the night before, and in the morning we got up, had our breakfast, and the gentleman from the hotel asked us where we were headed. And we said, we're going up to Speyside, because we had a meeting with, I think we were headed to, Glenmorangie, which is, one of the most beautiful parts of Scotland, and Glenmoe House, if you can ever get there, is just so fun and beautiful. But he looked at us and he said, "Have you seen the weather?" And we're like, "No, what's you must leave right now." And without our knowledge, a giant winter storm or spring storm, but it was snow, sort of swooped in, and we're headed up the highway toward the north, and about 30-40 minutes in, it's just hail and rain and snow, and it's all this stuff's happening. We found out later that had we left even 10 minutes later, we would have never gotten up there, because the a lorry, a big truck, had crashed and closed the highway across both sides, so no up and down. So we just made it and ended up doing 2.5-3 hours of slogs, very slow in the intense weather. And as we hit Inverness, of course the weather breaks and you get to the north of Scotland where it's sunny and shining, and the rest of Scotland just got pummeled, destroyed. They had more snow than they had forever, and I remember Arran got particularly hit bad. They said there were 6-foot snowbanks, and the electricity was out for a week, and so we unfortunately didn't get to go. But I plan to go. This is great. Highly recommend this. It's a bit of a shame. I kind of like the cheeky, goofy labels, but maybe it's not everyone's cup of tea. These won't be around any longer. Of course. They've changed those packages, and the new package is gorgeous, but I don't think they'll be calling it Macri More any longer. I haven't seen the new packages in real life. And Arran, if you have the regular lineup, it's excellent. The 18 is, one of the best values in Scotch, although, everything's changing right now. Prices are going up on almost everything, so that'll change. But, if you want a gentle, peated, balanced island whiskey, that is about as good as they come in this price point. I think I'd it's kind of hard to find sort of, not that this is lightly peaty, because it's not. It's definitely peaty. It's quite peaty, really. But it's a gentle bit of peat. What is driving the price increases? Demand and tariffs. So there's right now a 25% tariff as of last September on all single malt Scotch, which is why this is loving the water. Most of the container that I plan to bring in this fall will be blended malt. So, I mean, it's single cask blended malt, so figure that out. This loves water too. A little more saltiness, a little more nuttiness. Tons of citrus now coming out. That was a nice splash of water, so we're well under 46% here, I believe. It's gone a little bit opaque. Not spitting that one out. Okay, delish. What a fun thing. Yeah, the price of Scotch, it's hard to say. With the world economy, you never know what's going to happen. But generally, demand for the product, single malt, is very, very high. The lower end blends are questionable in terms of their popularity, although the international markets have a real ability to take care of a lot of that volume. Nonetheless, the big name brands aren't exploding. A lot of the growth is in single malt. But to be perfectly honest, 25% tariff ad valorem, it's extremely punitive to people like my entire business. And you'll notice a lot of the big producers have tried to avoid increasing the prices too much, but smaller producers have much less leeway, much less opportunity to change or hide their tariff obligations in the price. And then other big producers taking the opportunity to really hammer the prices, I think. You'll see, we had sold Lagavulin 16 year for $60 to $65, $70 for years, working closely with the importer there, and we can't get anywhere close. Now we have what I would call a competitive price, and it's $90 on the shelf, and it's, I think they probably like it better that way, but certainly not. Smoke wagon question. Smoke wagon coming hopefully soon. No ETA. But Scotch, people are on this smoke wagon train. Pretty good whiskeys coming out of Las Vegas. Indiana via Las Vegas. But I guess people want to talk about bourbon. That's what I've been hearing. I'm going to ignore them, and instead I'm going to talk about rye. This is what I'm going to open today. Something really special. What is the theme? The theme today was Arran, the wonderful malts of Arran, Isle of Arran, old malts. These are old bottlings that we picked up during the importer change. We've tasted those already. The theme switched quickly toward American whiskeys, and I hadn't opened a lot of bourbon here in a long time, and I'm still not going to. What I am going to do is it's not that far. One of our customers is moving to Vegas, going to miss us, but you'll be closer to Smoke Wagon. They're really fun guys, and they've got great access. The Smoke Wagon is a distillery someone asked about earlier, and they said they would. They've got some good stocks. They started pretty early of MGP. They're doing some really fun stuff. So this is the Buffalo Trace Kosher Straight Kentucky Rye Whiskey. It is a bit of a controversy at Buffalo Trace because the Sazerac company is owned by Jewish people. Their whiskeys were technically not kosher because they didn't go through the process of divesting those whiskeys during Passover, which is if you keep kosher, you know that you're not supposed to own grain or eat grain during that holiday, and so they developed this project specifically for that market, to address those concerns for people who love the distillery but couldn't consume them because of their religious beliefs. So what they've done is distilled this whiskey. They clean the lines. They sell it to a non-kosher Mr. Mark Brown, one of the industry's greats, voices and a friend of the store, and he kept it for all those wonderful Passover, 7 of them, and then this year they've released it, and I'm going to go ahead and open it. Buffalo Trace, this is the same whiskey that goes into the Sazerac, 6-year at 90 proof. I'm not, actually, I don't know that for sure because they don't disclose the mash bills. So from what I can tell, they don't disclose many mash bills at Buffalo Trace. From what I can tell, there are 2 mash bills, rye mash bills at Buffalo Trace. One for the Taylor, which is high rye and malt, and one for the standard Sazerac. This might be wrong. I mean, this is speculation that we've put together over the years, that would be lower rye, like closer to what Rittenhouse is doing. Of course, over 51%. But could be all wrong. It could be more traditional rye recipe. Who knows? I mean, obviously they know. And I really like Buffalo Trace's rye whiskeys. I think they're, obviously Sazerac is quite popular, but it's it's not sort of a focus for the distillery. The 18-year, of course, look at that great color, gorgeous color. The 18-year, notwithstanding, the Sazerac is kind of the only, and the Taylor Rye, which supposedly is another mash bill, is sort of like the only one we see from them. Oh, yes, this is it. Okay, now we're rocking. Of course, these were, the rye whiskey from this brand, the kosher Buffalo Trace, was the most limited. We only got 2 cases of this. That's 6 bottles. I'm sorry, 12 bottles total. They sold out extremely fast. And it is currently sold out, although I did snag 1 bottle for this, and I held 1 bottle back because I want to do something fun. I'm not sure we're even allowed to do this, but I'd like to do a little pop trivia, see if anybody here, one of the 16 wonderful people, wants a bottle, and if you can answer this question about Buffalo Trace the most quickly, then I will make sure you get that last bottle. So the nose, full of spices, clove, cinnamon, sweet spices though, really beautiful nose. Yeah, that's Sazerac. It feels woodsier. I wonder if it's a different warehouse than the regular Sazerac. Of course, it's a little higher proof and a year older than the standard release. If you can get your hands on this stuff, highly recommend. It's $45, but for limited edition rye whiskey. We'll have it again next year after this from Paso. So if anybody wants this last bottle I've got, can you tell me the name of the person who first officially built a distillery on the Buffalo Trace site? A famous name, to say the least. Anybody? No? Nobody's paying attention. Anybody listening? No? Are you Googling? It's a little complicated because I think they were distilling before this, but in Buffalo Trace's eyes, no, a little later. No, Jack Daniels. close before. Oh, that's now you're going into the Wikipedias. The Lees distilled illicitly on site, but the first, no, not Stitzelweller. That's on the other side of the state. Nobody's gonna. There we go, Mr. David Hong. You get a Buffalo Trace Rye Kosher recipe. Yes, it was I believe early 1800s. Taylor came later after the distillery was first established and rebuilt it. David, email me if you want a bottle. My email is Girard, Girard, or at klwines.com. And someone might argue that Hancock Lee and that whole team were the first distillers, but I think they were more like farmers. The claim at Buffalo Trace is that I can pull it up, sorry. I'm going off the old brain, which is pretty worthless these days. You were very close, Sergio. It's true that the original Buffalo Trace, of course, was founded much later, but the site has been used for distilling for a long time. And let's see, where is Colonel Blanton's? Where is it? Maybe you all win. I have it somewhere here. I think it's yeah, that's right. The Hancocks were there early. Hancock Lee. I think it might have been Hancock Blanton's. No, Harrison Blanton's. Albert. Anyhow, it's inconsequential. The winner is David Hong. And yes, Harrison Blanton. There you go. I read this some time ago. Here. Oh, it's also on the Wikipedia. Oh, let's find the source. The first distillery constructed was 1812 by Harrison Blanton's. Let's see what they say. If that is legit. We all win. That's so true. Well, anyway, this is such a great distillery. We are very lucky because we're still getting casks from them. Yes. This year, we will be getting a Blanton's cask. God, this is really tasty. We will be getting a Weller, full proof. We will, fingers crossed, be getting a Taylor barrel. Who knows? We're never going to start shipping to Nevada spirits, not unless, the old Constitution gets changed. Gonna have to go to the top for that one. Spirits not legal across state lines. You should petition the old Nevada state legislature, but unfortunately, I think that one is pretty unlikely considering... Brian's here. Oh my gosh, Mr. Turley, we miss you. Considering, how powerful the lobby is there. So, yeah, there's a lot of interests that really don't want us to ship. And, there are a lot of stores that will ship. It's not legal per se, but it's not like a criminal risk. But we just won't do it. So, yeah, it's sad. I'm sure you have friends that are coming out to Vegas every few months, to party, whatever. Have them mule the stuff over. Not a big deal. Oh, yeah, definitely stock up. And you know, there's some decent stores in Vegas. So lots going on this week, though. We're gonna actually, I'm not sure if I'll get this done this week, but be a little preview of what we plan to taste here. The first few brands, really exciting little project from a couple of friends. This is barrel to bottle. Oh, you see my baseball collection back there. They're worthless. That's not a surprise. These are 3 single grain whiskeys selected directly from some of the best stocks in all of Scotland. That's a nicely sherried Port Dundee. Oh, I guess I'm back. Next, we have the Moonrose. Just for you, Monroe Doctrine. 4 single casks. Actually, they're not single casks. These are small batches. All distilled on the same date and bottled a few years ago. Tormore. We'll be tasting these next week. I think I'm going to do those 2 in one session next week. After that, fun little brand, Tweedale. This is sort of the blended project of the Racé guys. Racé whiskey. It's an island just to the north of Skye, extremely beautiful and far-flung, and now there's a new distillery being built there. And there, While We Wait, which is a sourced whiskey finished in Tuscan wine casks. And then we'll be selecting a barrel of Spirits Works, one of California's premier craft distillers. This is just a Japanese gin. I don't know if we'll taste that here, but so lots going on next week. I think that's probably going to do it for today. Any questions? Yeah, lots going on. Should be a fun week. Congratulations to Mr. David Hong. And hope to hear from him soon. Looking forward to talking to you guys. I might pop on tomorrow for a quick session. Unplanned. Got some mezcal to taste. Maybe some bourbon too. I think everybody's jonesing for bourbon. We miss you too, Ethan. We're hanging in there. You know, drinking a lot. Oh yeah, that's what I'm drinking right now. Sorry, it's really good. I don't know what to say. We have tasted the Buffalo Trace Kosher Straight Rye. It's super spicy on the nose. That sort of like roasted clove. There's a little hint of like the flambéed banana. Not at all fake. I hate that fake banana thing, you know. I don't know about Jack Daniel's fans, but some of them have that. Other whiskeys in Kentucky have it too. It's never been one that I could get down with. It's got a lot going on. 7-year-old rye recipe. 94 proof. Really delicious. Any other questions before I go, guys? Thanks for coming around. Might be by tomorrow. Not sure. Keep an eye out. Of course, we'll post these on the IGTV so you can watch them later. And expect a lot of scotch next week. Maybe some bourbon. First experience with an independent bottler in Scotland. Ooh. The most David asked, do you have a recommendation for a first experience with an independent bottler? I think you know most of the independent bottlers you see on this side of the pond are pretty high quality. I think it's more about your tastes than anything else. Of course, I'm partial, you know, because we're bringing in a couple things. And I think the best values are coming from the old particular line. And, you know, right now we have, 25-year-old a Thrusk for $100 or 194. We have a beautiful, easy, fresh little Benrinus that's not expensive for $15 year for like $70 or something like that. You don't have to go that high. If you like peated whiskey, There's a 10-year-old Ardmore. If you don't mind spending a little bit more, there are a couple. Signatory's always bottling excellent stuff. Anything you see from them is gonna usually be really high quality. The Elixir Drinks guys, Whiskey Exchange, have a new brand available in the States called the Single Malts of Scotland. Very clever name. And these are very expensive and worth every penny. That they're really selecting the best casks, and they've got great access. So those are a couple of the big ones. And one brand that I think has been overlooked for years, and partly that's because of the prices, but generally the quality is excellent. Is Gordon MacPhail, and I think we have the cask strength Kalila 13-year on the shelf. I mean, again, you have to like peated whiskeys, but I think just rip the Band-Aid off and try something. Every cask is different and every bottle is different. Right now, those Munros are a particularly good value that we looked at a moment ago, because they were bottled pre-tariff. But each is a little bit different, and I'm partial in this case to the Glen Grant. The Tormore was wonderful, which I thought was unusual. Not that Tormore is not a good distillery, but it was pretty well rounded. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Maybe it didn't, but yeah, check out the old particulars on the site. Those are going to be some of the best values out there. A lot of diversity in flavor profile. A 10-year-old Ardmore is killer value, if you don't mind a little peat. And then, Gordon MacPhail, Signatory, all those guys. And hopefully we'll be having more and more going forward. No dot there, David. You can just hit me up on the DMs. Either way, but everything else is right on. All right, guys. Thanks so much for coming. Be well. See you soon.